Hi, all are welcome at Balkans Debrief. I'm Ilva Tara. I'm a non-resident senior fellow at the Atlantic Council's Europe Center. The Western Balkans, home to around 18 million people, have the potential to catalyze economic reforms in the region thanks to their openness to economic cooperation. In Bratislava, President of European Commission Ursula von der Leyen underlined the importance of establishing a common market that is in line with the EU laws in order to address economic fragmentation and to prepare the region for ultimate integration into the EU single market. In this episode, we'll take a look at the Western Balkans economy business opportunities for growth and investments that lie ahead. Chambers of commerce and other leaders from the private sector play a critical role in ensuring the ongoing attempts to promote economic cooperation in the region are effectively implemented. Stefan Lazarevic, President of American Chamber of Commerce in Serbia, and Enio, Jaco, President of American Chamber of Commerce in Albania, are my guests today. Welcome, Stefan. Welcome, Enio.
Thank you.
How do businesses that are members in your chambers see regional cooperation in the Western Balkans? I'm starting with you, Stefan.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for organizing this session. Our member companies see regional cooperation and business integration as one of the key priorities. And that's why we as American Chamber of Commerce works a lot with American Chamber of Commerce in the region together on different projects with the aim to create a regional single market. Because if we want all, and we all want to join the European Union and become a part of a much bigger single market, it's natural that we also work together on creating a regional single markets through the different initiatives. It's not important what's the name of the initiative that we work together, but anything that help us increase and strengthen the four freedom between the countries and markets in the region is always welcome by our member companies. And I think we are significantly increasing our regional cooperation in the last couple of months. We had a big meeting in Tirana. After that, we met in Serbia, in Belgrade. We met in Skopje. There was some conference in Montenegro. So we work together. That's important for our companies, removing the barriers and having much easier regional access to the market.
Enio, from Albania's point of view, how do the businesses there see the regional cooperation?
Well, it's very important. I couldn't agree more with Stefan. We're very, very good friends. We work within the American Chamber of Commerce family. We share a common culture. We really don't find the obstacles so big, the political obstacles, if you will. And we're focusing and we're making a lot of progress. What I want to correct from what Stefan was saying, he mentioned a couple of months. I think it's been in the couple of years, and I think that's what he meant. But we do share this very, very important. In fact, one of our recommendations has been that the initiatives such as Open Balkans focuses a little bit more on the economic cooperation and the technical aspects of trade integration as opposed to political aspects of it.
Well, considering or following the political statement on the Open Balkans, seems like that initiative has fulfilled its mission, said Prime Minister Rama. Stefan, what do you think of that?
I think Open Balkan is an initiative about cooperation. There's still things to be done about the regional cooperation, and that said, I think there's still things to happen under this initiative or many other initiatives. So I wouldn't say it fulfilled the idea. It's probably the beginning of something that start happening, and I expect it will continue happening because there's no other way than having better economical regional cooperation in the region.
Well, there is Berlin process also. That's where the priority seems to be now.
Right.
By the
all initiatives, of course, because we as a region, we want to move forward to the EU. So all processes, all initiatives that are moving toward that directions are more than welcome. I think Open Balkan was one of them. But of course, Berlin process is something that we all are looking forward to, and we hope to see more advancement and progress in that area as well.
Enio, what do you make of that statement, that it fulfilled its mission? Now our priority is Berlin Process, and Albania is the host this year in October of the Berlin Process Summit.
Yeah, so I agree with Stefan. We focus a little bit less on the political side. In other words, in choosing particular initiatives. What is important, though, is very, very important to us and to businesses to consider the region as a whole, the benefits of looking at the region as a whole. And in terms of looking at the region as a whole, the region needs to be integrated, needs to have common legislation, regulation, and so on and so forth, so that the investors, the big investors, such as US investors, have a reason to go. They will have less reasons to go to Serbia alone, to Albania alone, or Bosnia alone, but they will have increasingly more reasons to go to the region as a whole. It's a lot more interesting. In that respect, it's very good that one initiative or another will be looking at the integration.
What is the current climate for business in the region, in the Western Balkans? As you assess it, because you are with the businesses, you listen to them, you know their challenges, their worries. How would you describe, would you evaluate the business climate?
Well, I would say that there is increasing interest for the different investors to come and invest in the region. When we talk to the companies, either the new potential investors or those that are already present in the region, they usually say that access to the workforce has been listed as a challenge number one in the last couple of years. But then on the other hand, the number of investments and the number of new jobs is opening. So I would say that the access to the workforce is not a regional issue, it's a global issue. It's something that's happening everywhere. On the other hand, there are the global crises that have impact on the local and regional economies as well. Last couple of years, we had a significant impact of COVID on everything that was happening in the region. And then now we have the impact of the war in Ukraine as well. So the region is not disconnected from all those global crises, and we need to work more closely together to figure out the ways to move forward. On the other hand, we talked a lot about membership to the EU, and I think all business in the region expects from all countries to move forward to the EU, and also to EU to be ready to support our accession, because the membership to the EU is also important from the perspective of not only having the access to the single market that we already discussed, but also the rule of the law. The rule of the law is significant potential for having our region more attractive for the different investments. And then we, as the American Chamber of Commerce in Serbia, we have identified 4 areas which we think can help the region as a whole to move forward and to modernize, and on the other hand, to be more attractive for the people to stay and grow their careers in the region. And those are the digital transformation, the green agenda with a focus on energy stability and environmental protection, healthcare system, which is very important in order to make sure that the quality of the life in the region is much better. And then finally, regional business integration. As Enio said, we do not add a political aspects to that, we add economical aspects, which means remove the barrier, work together, and keep thriving the entire region.
Enio, what's your assessment of the current climate of businesses in the region? Like, what is special in the Western Balkans that attracts the investors? I said the size is around 18 million. Do they think that way, or is more fragmentized?
Yeah, so let me start by saying something else, Ilva, which is in the last 3 years, Albania has seen, I'm talking about just Albania now, we are seeing triple the US investments. In 2019, we had about 80 million. In 2022, we had 220 million, right? So, and what is particularly interesting for us is because we analyze what kind of investments are coming, we see a lot of small and medium-sized investments that are contributing, that are making this contribution. And that makes us very happy, because it shows that there's a genuine interest in Albania. There's a lot of reasons why this is happening. Albania has a good climate, good people, it's a NATO country, high security, has access to a lot of trade routes in the Adriatic, Ionian Sea, into Europe. And so there's a lot of reasons to be doing that. And perhaps the biggest reason is the whole region, including Albania, is moving towards EU. And that means that the political risk is expected to go down. And so that's very important for investments. So that's something that makes us very happy. But at the same time, we have to understand that these numbers are very, very low compared to the potential that these countries have. And then when it comes to Albania is also these numbers are very low compared to some of the countries in the region, including North Macedonia or Serbia, right? And then that is the other side of it, which is that the countries we expect the countries and the governments to do a little bit more to attract these investments, because from the demand side, which are the investors, we're seeing some very positive signs, as I mentioned. But on the supply side, in terms of what these countries have to offer, we have a lot of issues that we haven't addressed with, and we are relatively unhappy with the pace of reform.
Stefan, what's the volume of the American investments in Serbia?
The volume of American investments is around $5 billion to date. And American investors in Serbia employs more than 30,000 people. The most investments are coming from the IT and technology sector, but also we have investments in the automotive industry, agriculture, food and beverages, electronics, machinery, equipment, and so on. In the last couple of years, mostly companies from the IT and technology sectors are coming here. And pretty much as Enio was saying, when we talk to the investors and ask them, what's the key reason for you to choose Serbia, to choose the region, the first thing they say, people. And it's funny because on the other side, when we talk about the challenges, they say access to the talent, but then the people is a key driver for them to come here. A great talented people that speak different languages, have a great technical knowledge, great working ethics. On the other hand, they appreciate a significant improvement in the infrastructure. IT telecom infrastructure has been amazing. On the other hand, the road infrastructure has been improving through the time, and so on. So we see the increasing interest from the American companies to come and invest in the region, but also we as business representatives in the region, in each country, needs to do our job in order to keep improving working environment, making it more predictable and stable. Serbia, as its own, has been ranked as #1 in the world in the greenfield foreign direct investment performance twice in last couple of years. So it sounds as a good invitation for investors to come.
Listening and the numbers that you mentioned, Stefan, I understand Enio saying that there is huge potential, bigger potential for Albania and other countries in the region. But as you said, Stefan, it is a global issue, the shortage of labor and the brain drain, especially in the last years in the region. How is this affecting the business climate?
I would say that's a challenge, but we are not alone with that challenge, because when I talk to the investors and the companies present in the different markets, maybe they don't call it brain drain, they call it different way, but they have the access to the talent issue as well. And I think the economy is global, becoming more competitive. Nowadays, you can sit in one country working for who knows which country company, thanks to the new technologies. So the companies needs to be more strategic with these things. And I said we as a companies and business organizations such as AmCham share the values that can help improve the quality of life in the regions we work through the initiatives I already mentioned. And I think there's definitely potential when it comes to that. But we have to keep in mind education, because if the people are the key source for us, we need to keep advancing and nurturing the education systems in these countries. And I still believe that, I know Enio mentioned like bigger and smaller economies, but we all together are much bigger than if we are alone. And on the other hand, I think that if you invest, for example, in Serbia, those companies will invest in the other countries in the region as well, for sure.
Yeah, and what's the size? How is the problem of the brain drain and the labor shortage in Albania, according to the experience that your members have?
So we have something called the Amsterdam Business Index, which is a survey, a big survey that we do every year. Usually the people there, we try to identify the major problems. And we've done this for like 20 years, right? And so for the first time this year, the number one issue was the labor shortage. Mm-hmm. So it's a huge issue. I know it's a huge issue everywhere. It's a big issue in the region, but I suspect it's a little bit more pronounced in Albania. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of reasons. Some of them Stefan mentioned. Typically it's a perfect storm. There's a global reason. The economic opportunities globally are rising faster than the supply of workforce. And that means after the pandemic, with the technologies and with the smart working, you find people that can work from Albania or can work from everywhere to everywhere. So it's all this smart working and all of that. And that is challenging the supply chains of labor workforce even further. But unfortunately, and then there are the local problems, such as people are immigrating from Albania. That is accelerating these problems, and so it's becoming a real issue. And we believe that there is a lot to be done, and we are not so happy with the attention that these issues are receiving in terms of addressing these issues, strengthening the business climate, strengthening the rule of law, democratizing further the country so that people find less reasons to leave. So those are the issues. We have addressed some of those, but we haven't seen enough progress.
And Stefan mentioned education. Is there any initiative from the countries in the region to improve education, especially giving focus into digitalization, IT, etc., or we are not at that stage yet?
If the question is for me, yes, there are a lot of initiatives. I mean, nowadays, for example, kids in Serbia, when they're age 10 or 11, they start learning programming, either Python, Scratch, so the basic things. And we see a lot of modernization coming towards that direction. But when we talk about improving education, it's improving the program, but also keep advancing the conditions for everybody participating in the educational system. These things are very important. On the other hand, when we talk about labor shortage, I think that, and previously we talked about Open Balkan Initiative. One of the things for the Open Balkan was to have people move freely from Albania, Serbia, North Macedonia, and probably the other Western Balkan 6 countries as well, to work together and to much easier access the markets of the other access the markets and have the working labor abilities there. So that's why I think that initiative is important to continue progressing, as well as the other initiatives you mentioned, the Berlin process and the others.
And in Albania, do you see any movement, any change on the education side to make an effort in these sectors that we mentioned?
There are some very good programs, academies in IT, but there are programs in education everywhere. We think that that's good. I think it's never enough in education. It's so important that it's never enough,
and it never ends.
It never ends because you have new technologies that are coming all the time. You have AI now that is coming, and it's really important. So this program needs to be relevant and important. But we believe there is also the fundamentals that needs to be addressed. It's not, the education is very important, but it's not enough. It needs to be accompanied with, as I said, with rule of law. Some people leave because they don't have the fundamentals, not only because they don't have the skills, but just because they don't have the fundamentals. And I think this is where perhaps there is some differences between the countries, even in the region. But we believe that what we call the fundamentals, the rule of law and the business climate and so on and so forth, need to be addressed a little bit further.
Since we're talking about this, Enio, do you believe that strengthening the rule of law will bring more investments in the region and in Albania, namely?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's an ongoing initiative. I think you know that very well with regard to justice reform, and I think some people are happy with it, and some people are less happy with it, or I should say, some people are less happy with the pace of that reform. But it seems as if like all the hopes are left with the justice reform, and that is very, very important. Don't get me wrong, but I think there is so many other fundamentals that are around the
rule of law, like property rights and whatever comes with it, which are very important, especially for Albania.
Even solving these issues, problems from businesses in courts, or solving or getting a permit, getting an investment permit in due time. For example, here is something where we see some very different rules, but also levels of quality between even Serbia or North Macedonia, which I keep them at a high regard, and countries like Albania or Bosnia and some other countries that are not there yet. So these are all what we put under the rule of law, and how well are these countries able, or the governments able, to enforce the current legislation.
Shortly, Stefan, are you happy with the rule of law in Serbia?
It's continuously improving, and we hope with our joining and moving forward the EU, it's going to be even better.
I have some very interesting data that I got as a courtesy from RCC on their latest Balkan barometer that is not published yet, but it will be public in the days to come. So when asked which countries, regions, their governments should improve trade relations with, citizens and businesses from the Western Balkans say 60% European Union, 36% Turkey, 30% China, 30% Russia, and 24% United States, and 31% Western Balkans. Stefan, what's your takeaway from these answers?
It's really hard to make a takeaway after not reviewing the data in advance and thinking through it, but
EU is leading. That's the news that we can say. That
for me, the EU that's leading it's not surprise because we are all in the Europe, and it's normal. And one of the biggest trading partner for Serbia is the European Union and European Union companies. And on the other hand, when we see the export of IT service from Serbia, our trading partner number one is United States. I'm not sure who's been asked about these questions and how they've been asked.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to see that EU is positioned very well. Also, we in the Western Balkan are working together. And last time when we met, we discussed how we can engage and expand our cooperation, not only within the Western Balkan, but with the Greece, Bulgaria, and other EU neighboring countries, which is important for us.
Enio, if you want to comment this, because I have something more specific on Albania, actually. 52% of Albanians favored investment from the United States, which is double from the other countries. For instance, Bosnia and Herzegovina said 60%, Kosovo 13%, North Macedonia 19%, Montenegro 20%, and Serbia 23%. Has Albania taken advantage of this potential and this, public will to have U.S. investments?
Oh, that's an interesting statistics. I didn't know that. Well, I would say that I'm not surprised about the EU. That generally speaking, for the Western Balkans stands the first, and it should be that way. I'm surprised, but in a good way, but then still not that surprised that Albania has like double of everybody else in terms of like interest in having trade with US. And I think we always have had very good relationships in general with US, almost special relationship with US. And I think Albanian businesses have a trust, has a certain element of trust in terms of achieving trade with US and economic cooperation. And I think that, but the answer your question specifically in terms of like has Albania been able to
capitalize
that? Well, we discussed a little bit the numbers at the beginning. Albania has 220 million US investments, and Serbia has 5 billion. And if you do the math in terms of like Serbia is maybe 2.5 times bigger than Albania, but if you put it on relative terms, Serbia does much better in terms of investments with US. I would say no, we haven't taken advantage, but considering the latest trend, the last years, I think it looks like it's going in the right direction. And I think with a great cooperation between the public and the private sector, meaning that the government doing going further on the reform and the private sector bringing more investments, I think those numbers you're going to see in the next 5 years, if those two things happening, really taking at a completely different level.
It's never too late to overturn this trend and make what you said happen. I have a last question, and I want 30-second answer from each of you. Stefan, what are the obstacles that come in the way of regional cooperation, in your view?
In 30 seconds, it's time to answer.
Okay, I can give you 1 minute, but we're running out of time.
I think the obstacles could be like, how do you name the initiative? The name of the initiative it's not important. It's important that we work and understand each other. And I think that the business leaders do not see the obstacles, they're trying to overcome them through the all relevant existing initiatives. And I haven't heard from any business representative saying we don't want to cooperate. You couldn't hear that, because it's normal for us to expand the business, to cooperate, to work together, to remove the barriers, etc. And I think it's quite normal to have a regional single market moving together towards the EU single market in next years.
Thank you, Stefan. Enio, what are the obstacles? It's the main one that come on top of your mind.
Well, I think the politics has been somewhat polarizing in the regions between the countries, and I think if the initiative has to focus a little bit more on the business side, in terms of not on the business side, but in terms of like removing technical barriers to economic cooperation, the results would be much higher. I can tell you that we at the American Chamber, us, Serbia, Bosnia, Kosovo, everybody gets along. We know what we want to achieve, what we are doing. And I think in some ways, we're a little bit ahead of politics and are able to find that cooperation a little bit more effectively. So I think more focus on economics and regional opportunities and our own mutual benefits, rather than politics, which has been somewhat polarized.
I'm surprised none of you mentioned security, which is good. Security in the region, which is important too, and peace. Thank you very much, Enio Jaco from American Chamber of Commerce of Albania. Thank you, Enio. Stefan Lazarevic, American Chamber of Commerce in Serbia. Thank you for talking to Balkans Debrief and sharing the perspective of the businesses, the American businesses in your countries and in the region. And thank you also for watching Balkans Debrief. You can always follow us at AC Europe in Twitter. Thank you.